Hello, it's Mrs. Peachman here. I'm a teaching assistant in decorum class, if you don't know me already, and I am going to show you how to make chicken fajitas, which is a really nice quick dish you can make for your tea or for your lunch, and it takes about 20 minutes to make. So I'm going to show you all the ingredients you need first. This is for 4 people. You need 2 red peppers, 2 red onions, 4 tomatoes, the bigger the better, those are the biggest I could get, 4 spring onions, so that's your fruit and veg. You need 4 chicken breasts, about 80 grams of cheddar cheese, about 40 grams of yoghurt, just natural yoghurt. You need about 12 wraps. These ones are quite small, but 12 wraps will do 3 wraps for 4 people. And you need half a teaspoon of crushed chilies. You don't have to have the chili in if you don't like it. How much paprika do you need? You need about 2 teaspoons of smoked sweet paprika, if you can get that. If not, just any old paprika. And some honey. You need about 50 grams of honey. Okay, so that's all the ingredients. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is cut the chicken into strips. So we're using a separate board for raw meat. This is my lovely assistant Zanny. He'll be cutting this using a knife very carefully and cutting the chicken into nice thin strips. And while she's doing that, I have cut the onion into thin slices, and now I'm going to cut the red pepper into thin slices too. So I'm just going to show you how I would cut a pepper up. You cut it in half. The problem with a pepper is all the seeds. So once you've cut it in half, you use your knife to cut around the green bit at the top where all the seeds are, and just around the edge, and you should be able to pull that out quite nicely. And then you can just cut into nice thin strips like that. Okay, so everything's chopped and ready here. We've got the chicken here and the peppers and the onions. So I'm going to get a big pan, a big kind of frying pan, or thick bottom pan like this. I'm going to put it on a medium-high heat and slosh a load of vegetable oil in there. Okay, I've used olive oil, which is fine. So we're going to wait for that to heat up a bit. And chicken fajitas is something that we like to eat, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's Mexican food, so it's quite spicy, but you can add yoghurt to it, and you don't have to have the chili and everything like that in it. If you don't like the heat, it's still quite nice when it's mild. Okay. So I'm going to ask my assistant here, Rosanna. I'm going to put the chicken in. So when we put it in, it might sizzle a bit. Okay. Not quite sizzling yet. Never mind, put it in. And we get rid of that chicken board immediately. I want to put it in the dishwasher. Excuse me. And then my lovely assistant here is going to put the vegetables in. Oh, it's starting to sizzle now. She's going to put the vegetables in the pan. Nice and carefully. Lovely. And she's going to give it all a good mix up. go. So just going to mix it up with a wooden spoon. Make sure everything's got a bit of oil on it. Give it a good old mix up. And then I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of paprika. Oh, need a teaspoon. Take a teaspoon. This is sweet smoked paprika, which has got a nice smoky taste to it, which I think is nicer than plain paprika, but either is fine. And then I'm going to put in roughly 50 grams of honey. So that's about 3 tablespoons of honey, maybe a little bit over. Like that in. Keep stirring it around, Zanny. Hold on to the pan and then you can stir it easier. That's it. That's the honey going in. There's quite a lot of honey there. Right. There we are. Mix that in a bit. Right, so you need to cook that for about 10 minutes and make sure that all the chicken is brown. So you want it on quite a high heat. I'd leave it there for a bit, let it sizzle away, and then every so often just give it a bit of a zhuzh in the pan. We'll keep our eye on it. Okay. Okay, so while the chicken is sizzling away in the pan with the vegetables, we're going to prepare the topping to go on top of the fajitas. So Rosanna, my lovely assistant here, is going to grate the cheese. I am going to chop up the spring onions. Okay, so here's a spring onion. We're going to chop the end off and try and keep as much of it as we can. So just chop those bits off. And you're ready to go. And you're just going to chop it into smaller slices as you can. I like to do 2 at a time, like that. Do it carefully, but quite quickly there. There we go, and we're going to put that in a bowl because that's going to be part of our topping when we assemble the fajitas in a minute. And then the next thing to do is the tomatoes. And this is for a salsa. So I'm going to chop the tomato in 2, and I'm just going to get a bit like the peppers. I'm just going to get rid of that funny green bit. I don't mind the seeds, but you don't want to be chewing on that funny green and white bit. So I'm just going to go like that and cut it out on that half, and then the same on the other half. And then you're just going to chop up the tomato as small as you can make it. So chop it up like that, and again like that. So really as small as that, smaller if you possibly can. So this is the nice, very plain salsa-y topping. And this bit takes quite a long time. So you see me do half, I've now got to do 3.5 more. Okay. Okay, so now I've chopped up all the tomatoes nice and fine. And to finish off the salsa, we're going to add a nice slosh of olive oil, like that. And a little pinch of salt, maybe like that. And then, if you like a little bit of heat, you can add some crushed chilies. I put about half a teaspoon in, no more, because we like a little bit of heat, but not too much. And you give that a good stir. Oh, a bit of onion got in there. Right, so now we have nearly everything ready to assemble the fajitas. These are the tortillas, which my lovely assistant is now going to take to the microwave, 6 at a time, and she's going to just heat them up for 30 seconds. And we heat them up so they're a little bit easier to bend and fold, but we don't want them to do that for more than about 30 seconds. Okay, so while Zanny is doing that, I will show you that we have finished cooking the chicken and the pepper and the onions. Here it is. Looks quite tasty. And what I've done is I've checked that the chicken is cooked all the way through. So I've got one piece of chicken and I've chopped it in half. And as you can see, that's nice white cooked chicken. If it wasn't cooked properly, it would still be pink inside. So it's important to do that because we're not cooking the chicken for very long, which makes it nice and tender, but you might want to make sure that you've cooked the chicken all the way through. So, and Roseanne's going to do the other pancakes. Tortillas, whatever you want to call them. And while we're waiting for that, I'll show you all of the things we've got to put inside the tortillas. So, first of all, we've got the chicken and the pepper. And then on top of that, we're going to put some onions. On top of that, a little bit of cheddar and a bit of onion, and then the salsa on the top. Or you can do it whichever way you like. Okay.
That's yogurt.
Oh, yeah, that's yogurt. Right. So we're going to start by rolling one up and see how it goes. My assistant is nearly ready. So we need a spoon for each thing. Right, I will do some bits. Now the trick is not to fill each pancake too much. So, put a couple of bits of chicken and some nice oniony, peppery mush. Then, assistant, we put on a small dollop of yogurt. Lovely. A little bit of cheddar. Assistant. A little sprinkling of spring onions. And then a dollop of salsa. So that's all it there in one parcel. And then you kind of fold it up the best you can. It doesn't often stay. I like to fold it up like that and shove in the ends like that and kind of just hope for the best. Give it a squash like that. And it kind of falls apart, really, by the time it gets to the table. But that's all right, because the person eating it just holds it and eats it and it all falls out and it's a bit messy, but that's all right. So, there you have one lovely chicken fajita.